Hi everyone. I've asked some of the mentors to give you a little bit on their career progress and to share how God has guided them and how they've glorified God in their careers. So just a quick minute on my story. I went to university to study pharmacy. After one lecture, I changed to computer science, qualified and worked as a computer programmer for a couple of years. Then while working in London, I was encouraged by our finance director to join the finance team and study further, so I did. Became an accountant, worked for them for 5 years, and then I came to Cape Town. I spent the next 20 years in corporate finance, strategy and management, traveling between Cape Town, London and the 8 African countries that I was responsible for. I was the finance executive of Old Mutual at the time, and in between all of that I spent a couple of years in San Francisco too. I ended up in Singapore where I trained as a youth leader with Young Life. I did some mission work in the Philippines. I started the Christian parent group at Stanford American International School, where we were not allowed to talk to children or teenagers about religion, but I was able to access and invite children and teenagers to youth groups through their parents. I started formally studying the Bible through BSF, Bible Study Fellowship International. Completed 6 years now, and I'm still busy. At the end of it, it doesn't actually give you a qualification in theology, but it gives you a very close personal relationship with Jesus, and I don't think I'll ever stop. We literally start on a new big book of the Bible every year, and you can study the Bible for your entire lifetime. So that's really what I intend to continue to do. If you're wanting to go to theology full-time, I would definitely recommend you attend Bible college. So how has God guided me? Well, for years I prayed for God to give me the ability to move into full-time ministry, and He's answered that prayer by giving me the financial security to be able to do that, and that's obviously what I'm doing now. It brings me to my current role where I'm volunteering as a youth leader at Prairie Valley Church. Throughout my work and travels, I've followed God's guidance and practiced next step obedience, where I don't need to see the entire picture that God's got planned for me. I just need to know what the next thing is that He wants me to do. How do I glorify God at work? Well, throughout my career, I have used my God-given talent as a maximizer to identify talent and to invest and develop and mentor and guide younger people. I believe I've displayed the fruit of the Spirit by working hard and ethically and loving people that I work with. I've ministered to people and talked to people at work about how God gives me peace to go through tough times, and I've prayed with my teams when we were under pressure. Well, that's enough about me. Let's hear from our mentors.
Okay, so I'm a Stellenbosch student. I'm currently in my first year, and I'm studying a BAc degree, which is to become a chartered accountant. And so Stellenbosch University is all online at the moment, so I'm doing classes on my computer. And so normally I have about 5 or 6 lectures a day. All the lectures are about 15 minutes. So that's what a normal day would look like. I'd be sitting on my computer and watching the lectures. Now, a person who would enjoy studying like what I'm studying would definitely have to enjoy working with numbers and working in a business environment and handling money. One of the advantages of becoming a chartered accountant is that it's a globally recognized qualification. So that means that when I'm qualified, then I could potentially work anywhere in the world. So that's also a very exciting prospect. And now, how God has guided me in my studies was really deciding between what university I want to go study, because I was really unsure about whether I should go to UCT or Stellenbosch, because I got accepted into both of them. But then over the weeks I prayed about it, and I just became more and more assured that I was to go to Stellenbosch University.
I'm a postgraduate architecture student at UCT, and I'm going to tell you what it takes to be an architect. So to start, you need a 3-year bachelor's degree. And then most South African universities require you to do 6 months work experience. But they'd probably recommend 1 to 2 years in order to qualify for an honours. Then you do 1 year honours, 1 year masters. And then SACAP, which is our regulating council, requires you to work a minimum of 2 years under a professional architect. And that's in order to qualify as one yourself. What does my day-to-day look like? I have 2 to 3 lectures in various subjects, but my biggest subject is design, and we do that when it's not COVID in in a studio, which is a really collaborative workspace, if you can imagine like a giant art room. And here we design with each other and bounce ideas off each other, and it's really cool to be involved in such a cool creative space. I'd say you definitely need a creative streak and then a knack for problem solving, right? Architecture requires one to think outside the box. Some downsides to studying architecture is that when you are a new graduate coming into the labor force, it can sometimes be really hard to find a job. As many architecture firms want you to already have work experience, and that's obviously not possible. So it's a little bit tricky to find a job after studying. Something so cool about architecture is that you get to see ideas which started in your head actually come into reality, and watch how people interact with architecture. And I think that is so cool. Because it's so permanent, architects have a huge social responsibility to society. And so the decisions that we make are very important, and it involves a lot of ethics. And this is how I glorify God in my profession, with the decisions I make, the design decisions, and how I choose to influence people's lives without them even knowing it. Architecture is quite practical, so we don't write many exams, but we have to work hard. And so there's this joke at UCT, what buildings lights are always on, and it's the architecture building, because the architecture students are always working. So next time you drive past UCT, look for the building with the lights on, and that's probably ours.
So you would know what a chef does. A food technologist basically does everything else behind the scenes. So we prepare the food that you see on the shelves in supermarkets. We ensure that the production lines run smoothly that prepare those foods on shelf. We ensure that they are safe. Or you do something like I do. I sell food ingredients to factories. It's a great degree. You can get it through a establishment like CPUT, like I did, or you can go through a university like Stellenbosch, that is actually one of the top 10 food science faculties worldwide. Very versatile degree, as I mentioned. You can do everything from quality control systems, all the way through to product development, sales, production, regulatory. So everything to do, as we always say, from farm to fork, not the agricultural side, but everything up to what is harvested all the way through to what you would buy on your shelf is where you would find a food technologist. So very versatile. If you excel within the course, generally there are quite a few opportunities for internships. So a lot of people do go straight from studying into internships and find themselves permanently employed, which is great in these times. And you generally, if you are hardworking, won't struggle to find a job. Also a very versatile degree in something that you could probably be quite entrepreneurial with. So if you understand the food side of things and you find a niche or a product or something that you can do, a lot of people do their own consultancies in development or food systems or sell their own food ingredients. Where I see God working, I don't know if I mentioned, I am a key account manager, so I go out and sell food ingredients. So I get to have a lot of interaction with a lot of people. It's not just the same people every day. And what's great about that is I get to share the gospel at times. I've had a client who's just recently been diagnosed with cancer and just had a great opportunity to serve, to buy gifts, to buy a really, what I think is an awesome book for her, just to really understand how God can be at work in this situation. And it just really opened up some really good conversations. So just that ability to see people, in my sense, is just great to have God at work. And then also to be able to, just see how people enjoy food and the great flavors that God has created.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do heading out of matric, so I just followed my passion, which was fitness at the time. And I did my personal training certificate, which was really great. I worked at the gym at the same time. And through that, I worked my way up to be a personal trainer, which was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it a lot. And then as I grew up, I just felt, I felt my God telling me that I needed to go in a different direction. So my mom encouraged me to study further, and I started my study career with doing a certificate in business management. And a couple of months into it, we got the offer to do a human resource degree instead. And I just really felt that this was something that was really appealing to me. It was something that I knew I could do well at with my personality, especially coming from the hospitality industry. And I just really felt God was pushing me towards this. And I completed my national diploma. And straight from there, I went into the hospitality industry, where I started as a human resource manager for a restaurant. And God just really blessed me in that aspect. You know, He gave me the really good fundamentals of working myself from the bottom up. And I really utilized my career, my degree and my university studies into my career, and that really blossomed. And I just absolutely found a passion for it. Through networking, God put me in touch with a really amazing person who's currently my boss at the moment. I got a really awesome job where I'm at now, and I've been there for 6 years. 2 years ago, I basically got the opportunity to study further, and I did my Bachelor in Technology and Human Resource Management. God really blessed me. I don't know how I got it, because my marks were not great enough to be able to do it, but I did. And I managed to do really, really well at it, and I completed my studies last year. And you're never too old to persevere and push through to your goals and aspirations. So, you know, if I can just say anything, I just listened to my heart, and I felt God pushing me, and I went for it, and I really am super grateful. And this has only just opened up a ton of more careers for me in the future, and possibilities and opportunities. So right now I'm just waiting on the Lord to show me His will and His path, and I will take it from there.
So I studied a BCom degree in event management at Prestige Academy. I did an internship program with marketing merchants who they design large-scale exhibition stands for indabas and exhibitions. And they asked me back after my graduation. And short-term program, and then COVID hit and they had to let me go. First hired, last hired, first fired. But yeah, I still remember the day that they were telling me that they were going to have to let me go. I got into my car after work that day. The song started playing, Provider. And I just experienced God saying to me, like, don't even worry about it. I got you. I will provide for you. And He absolutely has. A few months later, family contact informed me about a job that was available, and she encouraged me to apply for it, and I did, and I got the job. So effectively, I'm a receptionist. You need to be not shy and have a very open personality, be quick thinking, on your feet, and just be able to handle all kinds of personalities, because you really do get all kinds of personalities. The hours are long, but you know what? The work is amazing. I have an incredible work environment, and I enjoy it every single day.
When I was in high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after school, and I thought I would probably go into accounting, because my dad was an accountant. And I met with a career counselor, and she actually mentioned actuarial science, and that is a degree in which you need to use mathematics and statistics, and I thought that would be nice. I actually liked maths at school, and that's what I did. I went to study, and certainly if you're somebody that likes mathematics, statistics, it's definitely a degree to consider. Actuaries are employed mostly by insurance companies, but there's a wide variety of things that you can do with that degree in terms of investments, life insurance, short-term insurance, health insurance. There's really a lot of opportunity there, and there's always a need for actuaries. Only thing is quite difficult. It's long hours of study. Normally after a 4-year degree, you still have to do another about 4 years of study to qualify. I prayed about it when I was a child. I still pray about my career, and yeah, I believe the Lord put me in the right place in terms of my skill set and what I can do. But I think whatever you do, as long as you dedicate it to the Lord and do your best, as if you're doing it for the Lord, and that's really just a winning recipe. Because when you do your best, people notice, and not only do people notice, but obviously God notices, and He notices our heart as well. So yes, definitely a career to consider. There's lots of opportunity, and in terms of the future, you hear often of these things of artificial intelligence and machine learning. All these things come into play in the actuarial field. So yes, an exciting thing to look forward to.
I've been in the fitness industry for 30 odd years after graduating from the University of Port Elizabeth. It was an awesome degree to do. You interacting there with different sportsmen and people that all follow the same kind of ethos when it comes to physical fitness and health. I'm a tenant trainer, I therefore work for myself, and I pay Zone Fitness a rental. Working for yourself is always a great thing. However, when you don't work, you don't receive an income. So it can be a bit of a disadvantage to that. But it does allow you to generate as much money as you want to, provided there are people to train. So I encourage anybody wanting to work in this industry to be extrovert or possibly a motivator or an encourager, because you're going to be dealing and working with many different people all the time, and they can lift you up or they can get you down. And I suppose like any industry that you work in, there's some positives and some negatives as well. God's worked miracles and wonders in this industry for me. He's really been faithful. I've had to turn on him many times to trust in him when business has been slow or when business has been great, just to praise him. It's a bit of a seasonal industry in that a lot of people want to train in the summertime, and normally in the winter they tend to sleep in or they're sick. So that can affect your income quite drastically. But the important thing there is just to keep focused on what God's put you in the position for. I think, like any industry that you're in, you're there to be a role model and there to be a disciple as well. So in this industry, you're definitely a listener, you're a motivator, and a challenger as well.
How do you glorify God through the work that you do? When you're working for a secular company and it has metrics that include profit and sales, you sometimes wonder, well, how does this, what I'm trying to do, glorify God? And it sometimes is difficult to make that connection back to your everyday work, so you start feeling like your work has meaning. But what I found is that working with people who are colleagues or customers and considering that everything you do touches people around you, the most important impact you can have to glorify God through that is by just being an example to others and by demonstrating to them the impact that your faith and what you believe has on the way you work. So by the way you work, I mean, are you able to work hard when nobody's watching? Are you able to also take a break and not overwork, because you know that God is ultimately your boss and provider? And are you able to keep other people around you in mind so that you can provide a lending ear or a lending hand and an ear when they're going through a tough time, and actually just stop, stand still, and even though the priorities of the work are many, be able to ask somebody, how are you doing, are you okay, and just show compassion. It also comes out when people make mistakes that you can show forgiveness and also own up to your own mistakes and realize that you're not perfect. And through that vulnerability, people can see that if you're able to be vulnerable, it must be for a reason, and that reason you can then explain to people is because God is ultimately your Father, and that is where your identity lies. And because you have that rooted, firm identity in God as your Father and that He loves you, then what people think at work doesn't matter, and that doesn't make you lazy. It just makes you a person who is able to work hard without feeling trapped and without being overworked and thereby running the risk of burning out. So you're able to have balance in your life, and you're able to give your best. And then I think God has through my career blessed me by being able to give me opportunities of work that really have fallen in line with my abilities and things that excite me and to keep me motivated. And so I thank God for that blessing every day.
So I went to the School of the Arts in Johannesburg. It was a dance and music and ballet school. You could only do one thing. I wanted to do all of it, so I did arts. And after school, I didn't really want to pursue arts at that stage. I didn't think we were really well educated at school for what you can actually do with it. So I studied a few other things, and I took a gap year as well just to see the world, which was brilliant. I definitely knew what I didn't want to do when I got back. And then my life took a lot of turns. It's a little bit like a scrapbook, but because I did a lot of things and I never really knew I wasn't really good at something. I was kind of okay in a lot of things, and that's quite confusing. But what happened, I prayed about it, and I met a lady at a party, and she just asked me whether I wanted to come and work for her. And she owned a bridal magazine in Pretoria. It was the biggest one, and I was the only sales rep. So I had to drive all over the province and go and see venues and people who do bridal gowns and flowers and photographers and all of those people to try and sell them adverts in her huge magazine. And it was fantastic because I didn't think I could do it. I didn't know I could do it. And she just summed me up and knew that I would love it. So I really loved it, and I made really good money because it was the only rep. And what you have to be persuasive. I did it for a couple of years, so later I wanted a little bit of a scene change. Then we had a child, and I started painting again, which was wonderful. I had a friend who had a shop, a kids shop, and I painted canvases for a shop, which she sold. And then life took another turn, and now I am back to painting. And this is my passion. This is what I love to do. And I actually prayed about this too, and God said, try oil paints. And now I don't even want to eat or go to the bathroom. I just love painting. So it's always good to find what you really are passionate about, because then you don't mind to get up in the morning to do it. The other thing I would really suggest, if you have something in mind and you're not sure, is to shadow someone who is doing it. Okay, I hope that helps. Have a good one. Bye.
I studied industrial engineering. It was a 4-year course at the University of Stellenbosch. I chose this profession because I wanted to do very practical problem solving, but I'm not very mechanically inclined. I wanted to also work with people. And industrial engineering, it's all about processes, improving processes, and bringing in the human element. So to make sure, for example, in ergonomics that I worked in, and in the factory, how do I help people who have to work for 8 hours physically? How do we make their job more productive, and they don't hurt, and they can sit nicely, and their tools are comfortable to work with, and they can be efficient and productive in their jobs. So the other thing about industrial engineering that is really great is that we can really look at processes in a lot of industries. So I've worked in automotive industry, I have worked in the energy industry, I've even looked at how to improve certain marketing aspects in companies. So you can apply your logical thinking to any problem, and you can put in new processes and find better ways of doing things. How do we glorify God? I think by just listening to people everywhere. If it's on a factory floor, listen to people's ideas, listen to people's complaints. Be respectful and be loving to people there. Be loving to your managers. Listen to them. My manager went through a tough time at one of my jobs that I worked for 4 years, and sitting and making time, despite being busy, to listen to people. I think that's the best thing, so that we don't stress and we are so focused on our job that we don't listen to people. So I'm not sure if this is helpful, but if you're a problem solver, if you're a logical thinker, if you like improving things, go for it.
So I started my career or my studies at the University of Stellenbosch, where I studied mechanical engineering. After that, I joined Remac Defence as a mechanical design engineer, working on the G6 and the Rooikat and some military equipment, and while part-time studying LLB at the University of Johannesburg. After completing my degree in LLB, I decided not to pursue it any further. I got the opportunity to move to the States, where we worked for 4 years designing motorhome chassis, and that's where I made my first career change, where I've changed from a design engineer to a project manager, and to eventually a program manager, and also taught myself to start programming and wrote the engineering configuration system for the company. And then I joined NASPAS, their innovation zone. Spent quite a a number of years in different countries. One of them being India. They sent me to India to start a business for them there. Came back to South Africa, progressed to start PayU South Africa, which then later became an online payment engine in South Africa. And in 2016, I made the leap to leave Naspers and do my own thing. And since then, I've been a private equity investor into small startups, and I really enjoy the energy and the passion of people in the startup industry. What have I learned through my career? So I think there's a couple of values and principles that have guided me through all the years. Number one is grit, the ability to stick to it till you are successful. I think it's very important that you do not give up too early. The second is balance. I think you can easily get yourself caught in the rat race and working really hard and long hours, which I've done in my career, but I think at some point you need to find balance between all the facets of life: career, work, family, and your own interests. The next is, I believe that you need to take risk. There's a great adventure. I've been fortunate in my life to visit more than 50 countries, seen amazing places, met amazing people observed amazing cultures. But to do that, you need to be able to take a risk. You need to put yourself out there. I think you need to believe in yourself and your abilities. What you've studied and what you've done up to any point in your life doesn't really need to define you. You can always change and seek a new adventure or take a new trail.
My qualifications: studied at Stellenbosch University, did a 3-year degree, then an honours degree, and since then obviously just done management and senior management and executive development programs at the University of Stellenbosch Business School as part of my self-development, and then also just to develop myself in terms of the work that I was doing. My career progression: I started in retail, in stores, operations, and then into area management before I joined the Winhold Group. Typical day as an operations manager, it's quite all-encompassing. You're involved in everything from the opening of the business to the closing of the business, really. Everything from procurement to selling to staff matters to supplier issues, budgeting, audits, stock takes. There's a whole host of things. It's as I say, as an ops manager, you really have your touch points are pretty much everything in the business itself. Who can succeed in the business? I think certainly people that are profit driven, that are able to sell, that build good relationships, and are able to not only sell themselves but sell the product that they are working with, and ultimately want to be successful and profitable in terms of the role that they play. Lots of advantages, certainly. It's a very dynamic industry that I work in. Obviously, to deal with lots of people, you build very, very good relationships. You set good strategies, which ultimately allow you to realize the success and based on the decisions that you've made. The disadvantage is certainly a lot of pressure that you would be under, stock not arriving, unhappy clients. I think sometimes you're forced to make fairly quick decisions as well. But by and large, the advantages certainly outweigh the disadvantages. God has certainly guided my career in terms of the work that I've done. I've seen his hand, his provision, his faithfulness, his guidance in everything that I have done in terms of my work career.
Firstly, you do need to have really, really good marks at school, and I mean really, really good. And the reason for that is that there's only one university that offers a degree in veterinary science. It's called a Bachelor of Veterinary Science. It's a 6-year course. Yeah, you learn to work hard, which is good because the job is hard. There are long hours, and it's a real challenge. So who would it appeal to? Well, somebody who, yes, enjoys animals. We'll get back to that part. Somebody who's good with people. Somebody who's interested in science, because obviously we're working with medical stuff, and we're trying to solve medical problems, and that's the science background. And obviously the tough part is you are working with biology, and biology doesn't always read the rule books. So let's get back to the animal thing. unlike what one thinks, animals are only really a part of our business. It's not, you don't become a vet because you love animals. Or if you do, you soon get a rude surprise, and that is that all the animals are associated with people. They have very high expectations. They don't always understand that we can't fix everything, or that it's difficult to diagnose stuff as well. And then, of course, the other side of it is money. Things cost a lot of money. Anything medical costs a lot of money. Part of our job is to try and juggle what a client can afford with what we really should be doing, and so that can be really stressful and challenging. But it's very rewarding in the sense that if you're a person who likes a challenge, likes to solve problems, then this could be for you. If you like science and solving problems and working with people, then it's a great job if you're tough. Yeah, God helps me quite a lot in my job. I think sometimes I get the feeling that he whispers little things in my ear when I'm not thinking down the right road, trying to solve a problem. And I've definitely had occasions where I've had a thought pop into my mind, which can only be from God, because it's so totally distantly related to what I was thinking. I think God uses us quite a lot because we do build up relationship with people. And there are a lot of lonely people out there who only have their dearly beloved pets as company. And so they come in to see us, and we build relationship with them. And sometimes we're the only people they speak to decently all week. And so, we get to show them empathy and love. And by caring for their pet, we show that we care for them as well. And I think God uses us quite a lot in that way.
Well, all that remains is for me to say, good luck for your exams. Just get your heads down, work hard, and push through. Trust God, keep close to Him, follow His guidance. God bless.